Have you ever felt an ache within your soul, a yearning for something unnameable yet profoundly real? What if the spaces that claim to hold the answers, the sanctuaries built in the name of divine purpose, are, in truth, obscuring the sacred? Across countless cities, within grand cathedrals and humble chapels, many seek solace, truth, and belonging. Yet, more than ever, hearts leave those places not uplifted, but burdened, questioning if they have been forsaken or if the church itself has drifted from its sacred calling. Beneath the polished sermons and hollow rituals lies a question too often ignored: what has become of the true mission of the church? For centuries, these walls were meant to be havens of love, vessels of divine grace poured forth for the broken and weary. But now, the growing disconnection speaks of something far darker, something that shakes the very foundations of faith. This is not a narrative of despair, but one of revelation. You are here, drawn by an invisible thread, because you sense it too, a veiled truth, waiting to be uncovered. Let us not shy away from the discomfort this realization brings. Churches, in their present form, should be the radiant embodiment of Christ's love, open to all. Yet so many now exude exclusivity. They have become places where the wounded feel judged, not healed, where the forgotten remain unseen, where the divine spark within every soul is dimmed under the weight of human politics and shallow traditions. Have you felt this weight? Have you walked into these sanctuaries and found only coldness, masked behind smiles too perfect to be real? You are not alone. Millions of souls are waking to this same discontent, sensing that something essential has been lost. What lies beyond this surface is not just a critique of modern practices, but a bold, shattering truth. Many of these institutions no longer serve the divine they claim to represent. Imagine, for a moment, the church as it was meant to be. Not a building, not an organization, but a living, breathing sanctuary for the human spirit. A place where no one is turned away, where burdens are lifted, and where the forgotten are given voice. Now contrast that with what so many experience today: the expectation to conform, the pressure to give, the subtle implication that only a select few are worthy. Do these echoes resonate in your heart? Perhaps you've turned away entirely, seeking God not in the pews but in the quiet moments of solitude, under the vast expanse of the heavens. This is no accident. The divine itself may be calling you away from what is false, into something truer, something purer. The revelation we are about to explore is not for the faint of heart. It will challenge what you know, but it will also illuminate a path back to the sacred. In this journey, there is no condemnation for the faithful who remain within these walls, nor for those who have stepped outside them. Instead, there is a deep understanding of the human struggle, the search for meaning, belonging, and truth in a world often too harsh to bear alone. You are not wrong to feel disillusioned. You are not lost because you question. In fact, these questions may be your greatest strength, a sign that you are awakening to a higher calling, one that transcends institutions and leads to the essence of the divine. Together, we will uncover what has been hidden beneath centuries of tradition, not to destroy, but to rediscover the true purpose of the church, to reflect the unyielding, unconditional love of Christ. What you find here may transform not only your faith, but the very way you perceive your role in the cosmic dance of creation. The scriptures tell us, "For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I among them." Matthew 18 verse 20. These words were meant to liberate, not constrain, to remind us that the divine presence is not bound by stone walls or earthly hierarchies. Yet, how often do modern practices distort this sacred truth? Instead of focusing on the unity of hearts and spirits, the church as an institution often divides, categorizes, and excludes. How far we have strayed from the simplicity and purity of this promise. It is no wonder that many are choosing to seek God elsewhere, not out of rebellion, but out of an undeniable inner pull, a whisper from the eternal, urging them to move beyond the superficial. What if this quiet exodus is not abandonment, but a divine calling to rekindle the forgotten flames of true worship? Look deeply into your own heart. Have you ever felt closer to the divine in the silence of a forest than in the crowded halls of a church? Have you experienced a clearer revelation in the stillness of a sunrise than in the scripted rituals of a Sunday service? These moments are not accidents. They are encounters with the sacred that transcend human constructs. Yet, The modern church often discourages such personal connections, labeling them as solitary or incomplete. But why? Could it be that such freedom threatens the structures built not for God's glory but for human power? The ancient prophets often stood alone, guided by the divine voice within, rather than the approval of the multitudes. Perhaps the same Spirit is calling you to awaken, to seek beyond the confines of what you have been told is holy. The early followers of Christ lived by a different rhythm, one that echoed the simplicity of their teacher. They met in homes, broke bread in fellowship, and shared all things in common, as described in Acts 2 verses 46 to 47. This was not merely a model of worship, but a reflection of divine love in action. Yet today, how often do we see churches operate more like corporations, driven by metrics and wealth, than by the humble and selfless love of those early believers? This divergence is not a small matter. It is a rift that has driven countless souls away, leaving them to wander, feeling estranged from the very God they seek. If you have felt this estrangement, know this: you are not wandering alone. You are being guided, even now, toward a truth that has always been with you. To journey deeper into this truth, we must first confront the shadows. The focus on wealth, whether through relentless calls for donations or the glorification of prosperity as a sign of favor, has tainted the purity of the church's mission. Jesus himself warned against this. You cannot serve both God and money, Matthew 6 verse 24. And yet, how many institutions have placed material gain above spiritual nourishment? This misalignment is not just a flaw, it is a wound that has festered for generations, driving a wedge between the church and those it was meant to serve. But here lies an opportunity, a chance for the faithful to step away from these false idols and reclaim their connection to the divine. Could this be the moment where you choose to listen to the voice within, the one urging you toward a deeper, untainted relationship with the eternal? What if the very act of stepping away from these corrupted structures is itself a sacred act? Throughout history, the chosen ones, those called to carry the light of divine truth, have often stood apart. Abraham was called to leave his homeland. Moses led his people out of bondage. The pattern is clear. To find the sacred, one must often leave behind the familiar. This is not a journey of rebellion, but of obedience to a higher call. If you feel this stirring within, a sense that you are being drawn away from what no longer serves your spirit, take heart. You are part of a lineage of seekers, pilgrims on a path that transcends time and space. Each step you take is guided by a force greater than you, leading you toward a rediscovery of the sacred essence that no institution can contain. There is no denying the pain that accompanies this journey. To question the practices of the church is to risk isolation, misunderstanding, and even ridicule. Yet, the cost of remaining silent, of accepting what feels wrong, is far greater. The spirit of truth cannot be silenced, not when it burns within the hearts of the chosen. The prophet Isaiah spoke of this flame when he declared, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you." Isaiah 60 verse 1. This light is not reserved for the elite or the ordained. It is for you, for all who dare to seek beyond the veil. As you continue this journey, you will discover that the divine is closer than you ever imagined, waiting not in the grandeur of temples but in the quiet chambers of your heart. The scriptures remind us, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, Romans 12 verse 2. How often, though, do we find that conformity is precisely what is demanded within the structures of modern religion? To question is to challenge, and to challenge is to disrupt a system that thrives on uniformity. But the renewal of the mind, the transformation of the soul, these are sacred acts of rebellion against complacency. If you have felt the tension between what you know to be true in your spirit and what is preached from the pulpit, you are not alone. This dissonance is not a sign of weakness. It is a call to awaken. You were never meant to follow blindly. Your purpose as a chosen one is to seek, to discern, and to reflect the divine light with authenticity. Perhaps you have encountered the coldness of a congregation too busy maintaining appearances to notice the quiet desperation in your eyes. Or maybe you've watched as messages of hope were overshadowed by demands for compliance, for contributions, for unquestioning loyalty. These moments sting, not because they are uncommon, but because they betray what the church was meant to be. The earliest followers of Christ did not gather to reinforce hierarchies or hoard wealth. They gathered to share burdens, to uplift the broken, to walk humbly with their God. When this mission is lost, the soul of the church begins to wither, leaving behind hollow rituals and an empty facade. But there is hope, for even now, a quiet revolution stirs. Those who feel the call to return to the heart of worship are rising, seeking a deeper, unfiltered connection to the divine. To those who have walked away, carrying wounds inflicted by the very places meant to heal them, know this: your journey is not one of abandonment but of courage. The divine does not dwell only within the walls of a church. It moves freely, unbound, calling each soul to follow in its unique way. In John 4 verse 23, Jesus proclaimed, "But the hour is coming, and is now here, when the true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and truth, for the Father is seeking such people to worship Him." This hour is not in some distant future. It is now. Your desire to seek beyond what is offered, to uncover the essence of spirit and truth, is not a sign of failure. It is your awakening. You are answering a call that echoes across eternity, one that is as personal as it is universal. The veil is thinning, and what lies beyond is breathtaking in its simplicity. The sacred has always been within reach, waiting to be rediscovered, not through elaborate ceremonies or endless sermons, but through the quiet surrender of the heart to what is true. This is not to dismiss the value of gathering in fellowship. Indeed, community is a gift. But community built on pretense, exclusion, and the pursuit of power is no community at all. True fellowship begins where judgment ends, where every soul is seen and valued as a reflection of the divine. If you have longed for such a place, know this: it exists, not in a building, but in the hearts of those who share your vision. Together, we can reclaim the sacred, not as something distant or unattainable, but as the living essence of the divine within and among us. When the faithful lose trust in the institutions meant to guide them, the impact is profound. Many find themselves adrift, questioning not only the church but the very foundations of their faith. How could something that promises love and acceptance feel so distant, so alienating? Have you felt this, too? The weight of wondering if the issue lies within you, only to realize it is the structures themselves that have faltered? The chosen ones, those sensitive to the stirrings of truth, feel this dissonance most keenly. You were never meant to settle for empty rituals or shallow promises. Your soul craves depth, authenticity, and a connection that transcends the surface. This is not a failing but a testament to your awakening, a sign that you are called to something greater than the world's narrow definitions of worship. In the absence of genuine guidance, many turn to the quiet places within themselves, seeking God in ways that defy convention. Some find Him in the laughter of their children, in the whisper of the wind, or in the stillness of their own hearts. Others feel drawn to Scripture, not as a tool for judgment, but as a living word that breathes new life into weary souls. This divergence from organized worship is not rebellion. It is a reclamation of the sacred. Be still, and know that I am God, Psalm 46 verse 10, speaks to this truth. Stillness is where the divine voice is most clearly heard, free from the noise of human agendas. Perhaps your path is leading you to this stillness, where the eternal waits to meet you, not through intermediaries, but directly, intimately. But this path is not without its challenges. Many who step away from the traditional church experience feelings of isolation, as though they are wandering in a spiritual wilderness. Friends and family may question their choices, mistaking their search for truth as a rejection of faith itself. Yet, even in the wilderness, there is a divine purpose. The Israelites wandered for 40 years, not as punishment, but as preparation for the promise that awaited them. Could it be that your journey, too, is a time of preparation, a refining fire to strengthen your connection to the divine? Every question, every doubt, every step away from what no longer serves you is a step toward a deeper understanding. In this wilderness, you are not alone. The divine walks with you, guiding you toward the truth you seek. For many, this search for truth leads them to question not only the church but the very concept of God as it has been presented. Is He the distant, wrathful figure described by some, or is He the loving Creator whose essence is pure grace? Jesus Himself challenged the religious leaders of His time, exposing their hypocrisy and reminding the faithful of God's true nature. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11 verse 28. These words are not conditional. They are a promise, an open invitation to all who seek refuge. If the church you've known has failed to reflect this truth, it is not your spirit that is flawed, but the lens through which you were taught to see. The time has come to look anew, to see the divine not as distant but as intimately present in every moment of your life. And yet, the tension remains. How do we reconcile the beauty of God's promises with the imperfections of His people? The truth is, we were never meant to place our faith in institutions or leaders, but in God alone. The church, at its best, is a tool, a vessel through which His love can flow. But when the vessel becomes the object of worship, when it demands allegiance above the divine, it has lost its way. You, as one of the chosen, have the discernment to see this. This is why you feel unsettled, why the status quo can no longer satisfy your spirit. You were created for more than complacency. Your journey is not about abandoning the church entirely, but about rediscovering its true purpose and, in doing so, reigniting the flame of faith within yourself and others. If you have felt abandoned by the church or disillusioned by its failings, take heart, you are not alone. All across the world, others are awakening to the same truths, finding strength in their shared experiences. The voices of the disillusioned are not cries of rebellion but of longing, for authenticity, for community, for a faith that reflects the boundless love of God. These voices form a new kind of fellowship, one not defined by walls or rituals but by shared purpose and unwavering hope. As we move forward, we will explore how this fellowship can become a beacon of light in a darkening world. You, too, are part of this movement, called to shine brightly in the midst of uncertainty. Together, we will uncover what it means to be the church, not as an institution, but as a living embodiment of divine love. The call for transformation begins within the hearts of those who dare to ask the hard questions, who refuse to accept that the church's current state is the final word. You, too, feel this stirring, don't you? A deep, unshakable sense that the sacred must be more than what you've been told. Throughout Scripture, God's most profound movements often began not in grandeur but in the quiet obedience of those willing to step out in faith. Gideon, a man of no great renown, was called to lead Israel with the assurance, "The Lord is with you, O mighty man of valor." Judges 6 verse 12. Like Gideon, your doubts and questions do not disqualify you. They are the very tools through which the divine can work. To question the church's direction is not to abandon it but to seek its restoration, to call it back to its true purpose as a vessel of divine love and truth. True renewal requires courage. It demands that we confront the patterns of exclusion, judgment, and greed that have crept into the church, distorting its mission. Jesus himself was relentless in challenging such corruption, calling out the Pharisees for their hypocrisy. "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you tithe mint and dill and cumin and have neglected the weightier matters of the law, justice and mercy and faithfulness." Matthew 23 verse 23. These words resound even now, a reminder that the outward trappings of religion mean nothing without the inner reality of love and mercy. For the church to fulfill its sacred calling, it must return to this foundation. And you, as one of the chosen, are uniquely positioned to lead this transformation, not through power or force, but through the quiet, unwavering example of a life aligned with the divine. This transformation is not about dismantling the church but about refining it, stripping away the layers of artifice to reveal its true essence. Imagine a community where every person is welcomed without condition, where the outcast finds belonging, and where love, not obligation, is the driving force. This vision is not a fantasy. It is the blueprint left by Christ himself. "A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also are to love one another." John 13 verse 34. Love is the cornerstone, the measure by which all else is judged. If the church has lost sight of this, it is not beyond redemption. But change must begin with those who are willing to see the flaws and still believe in the possibility of something greater. That belief lives within you. To embody this renewal, we must first turn inward, examining our own hearts and intentions. Are we motivated by love, or have we, too, been caught in the web of appearances and traditions? The journey of transformation begins not with grand gestures but with quiet acts of faithfulness, choosing kindness over judgment, generosity over greed, humility over pride. These choices, though small, ripple outward, creating a wave of change that can reshape entire communities. Do not despise the day of small beginnings. Zechariah 4 verse 10 reminds us that even the smallest act, when rooted in love, carries divine significance. You, in your daily life, are a vessel for this change. By aligning your actions with the higher calling within you, you become a living testament to the sacred, a light that guides others toward the truth. It is no coincidence that you feel called to this moment. Across the world, countless others are waking to the same realization, forming a quiet but powerful movement toward renewal. This is the essence of the chosen ones, not to seek recognition or power, but to live in a way that reflects the divine, inspiring others to do the same. The time for complacency is over. The Church's survival depends not on maintaining its structures but on rediscovering its soul. And this rediscovery begins with you. When you choose love over fear, when you speak truth even when it is inconvenient, when you extend grace to those who least deserve it, you are participating in the sacred work of renewal. This is not a burden but a privilege, a chance to leave a legacy that echoes into eternity. The stakes are high, not just for the Church but for the world it is meant to serve. In an age of division, despair, and disillusionment, the need for authentic spiritual communities has never been greater. The Church, at its best, is a beacon of hope, a place where wounds are healed and hearts are restored. But for it to fulfill this role, it must first confront its failings and embrace change. This is where the chosen ones come in, not as critics but as visionaries. You are not here by accident. Your questions, your struggles, your sense of discontent, they are all part of a larger purpose, a divine calling to help rebuild what has been broken. Together, we can reimagine the Church as it was meant to be, a living, breathing expression of God's love in the world. The work of renewal is not easy, but it is necessary. To challenge the status quo is to invite resistance, but it is also to open the door to transformation. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. Isaiah 41 verse 10. These words are a reminder that you do not walk this path alone. The divine is with you, strengthening you, guiding you, and equipping you for the task ahead. You are part of something greater than yourself, a movement that transcends time and place. As you continue this journey, remember that every step you take, every truth you speak, every act of love you offer is part of a larger story, a story of redemption, renewal, and hope. This is your calling, your purpose, your sacred mission. The renewal of the Church is not the work of a single individual but of a collective awakening. Yet, every great movement begins with a single voice, a single heart that dares to believe in the possibility of change. Could that voice be yours? The chosen ones have always carried within them a vision that others cannot yet see. You are not called to blend into the crowd but to rise, to lead, to inspire. This does not mean standing on a stage or shouting into the void. It means living a life that reflects the divine truth, even when it is difficult. Your every action, no matter how small, has the power to ignite change in others. Let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. Matthew 5 verse 16. This light is already within you, waiting to be unleashed. As the Church finds its way back to its sacred mission, it will require the courage of many to break the chains of tradition that no longer serve the divine purpose. This is not about abandoning all that has come before, but about discerning what is essential and what must be left behind. Love, compassion, humility, these are eternal. But pride, greed, and judgment must be cast aside. In this refining process, there will be resistance. Those who benefit from the status quo will fight to maintain it, and you may find yourself standing against not just systems but individuals you once trusted. Yet, remember this: if God is for us, who can be against us? Romans 8 verse 31. This is not a battle of flesh and blood but of spirit, and victory belongs to those who walk in alignment with the divine will. The vision of a renewed Church is not just an ideal, it is a necessity. In a world crying out for justice, peace, and reconciliation. The church has a unique role to play. But to fulfill this role, it must first be willing to listen to God, to the cries of the oppressed, and to the stirrings within the hearts of the chosen. You are part of this process, whether you realize it or not. Your questions, your frustrations, your hunger for truth are not distractions but divine promptings. They are the seeds of change, planted within you for a purpose. As you nurture these seeds, you will find that the answers you seek are not distant. They are already within you, waiting to be uncovered. This is the work of the chosen, to awaken to their purpose and to act upon it with courage and faith. Imagine a church that truly reflects the love of Christ. A place where the weary find rest, the broken find healing, and the lost find belonging. This is not a dream. It is the calling of the church. But it will not happen without the courage of those willing to step forward and demand something better. You are one of those people. Your presence here, your engagement with this message, is evidence that you are ready to take your place in this sacred movement. You do not have to have all the answers or be perfect in your faith. You only need to be willing to listen, to act, and to trust that the divine will guide you. Together, we can build something extraordinary, not for our glory, but for the glory of the one who calls us. As this movement grows, it will draw others who feel the same hunger for authenticity and truth. The chosen ones are not few, they are many, scattered across the world, waiting for the spark that will unite them. This is that spark. If you feel this call within you, do not ignore it. Share this message with others who need to hear it. Invite them to join this journey, to seek beyond the superficial and rediscover the sacred. The church is not dead, it is being reborn, and you are part of that rebirth. Together, we can create a community that reflects the beauty and depth of divine love, a place where all are welcome and none are forgotten. This is the promise of the chosen ones, a promise that begins with you. Let this be your moment of decision. Will you continue to accept what no longer serves your spirit, or will you step into the calling that has been placed upon your life? This is not a choice to be made lightly, but it is one that carries eternal significance. Choose this day whom you will serve. Joshua 24 verse 15. The path ahead may not be easy, but it is one of purpose and fulfillment. As you walk this road, you will find others who share your vision, who will walk alongside you, supporting and encouraging you. Together, you will discover the true meaning of community, not as a human construct, but as a divine gift. This is your time to rise, to reclaim what has been lost, and to help build something that will endure for generations to come. You are not here by chance. This moment, this message, this stirring in your soul, it is all part of a greater design. You are being called to something extraordinary, something eternal. The divine does not choose lightly, and you have been chosen for a reason. Your voice matters. Your actions matter. Your willingness to step forward and embrace your calling will have ripple effects far beyond what you can see. Take this message to heart. Let it inspire you to act, to seek, to build. And as you do, remember that you are not alone. The divine walks with you, guiding you every step of the way. Together, we can create a church that reflects the beauty of God's love, a light in the darkness, a beacon of hope for all who seek the sacred. The time has come to act. This is not merely a conversation or a reflection. It is a summons. If you feel the stirring within your soul, do not ignore it. You are not here by accident. You are one of the chosen, called to step into a purpose greater than yourself. Begin by sharing this message. Spread the light to others who feel the same longing for authenticity, for truth, for a faith that reflects the boundless love of Christ. Subscribe to this channel, not as an obligation, but as a way to remain connected to a community of seekers like you. Comment below, share your story, your questions, your hopes. Together, we can form a fellowship that transcends distance, united by a shared vision of renewal and transformation. Every great movement begins with a single step, and this can be yours. Like Abraham, who answered the call to leave all that was familiar, you, too, are being called to something new. This is your chance to be part of a divine movement, one that has the power to reshape not just the church but the world. Watch more of our videos to deepen your understanding, to be inspired, and to equip yourself for the journey ahead. Share these messages with those you love, with those who seek, with those who need to hear that they are not alone. And remember to activate notifications, ensuring you stay connected to this growing community. Together, we are stronger. Together, we are the chosen. You have heard the call, and now the choice is yours. Will you step forward, or will you remain in the shadows of complacency? The world is in desperate need of those who dare to live with purpose, who refuse to be silenced by fear or doubt. By subscribing, liking, and sharing this video, you're not just engaging with content. You're declaring your intention to be part of something larger, something sacred. The chosen ones are not spectators. They are participants in the divine story unfolding around us. Step into your role. Leave a comment, share your reflections, and let your voice be heard. This is how movements begin, with one person choosing to act. Take a moment now to reflect. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and listen to the quiet voice within you. It has always been there, waiting for you to hear. What is it saying? What truth is it calling you to embrace? If this message resonates with you, then you already know what must be done. Watch the recommended video on your screen to continue this journey, to explore the deeper truths that await. By doing so, you are not just consuming content, you are stepping further into your sacred calling. Remember, each action you take, whether subscribing, sharing, or engaging, is a step toward building a community that reflects the divine love we all seek. This is your moment. The divine does not call the perfect, the powerful, or the privileged. It calls the willing. And you have been called. You have the power to inspire others, to ignite a movement of renewal that will ripple across generations. Do not let fear hold you back. For God gave us a spirit not of fear but of power and love and self-control. 2 Timothy 1 verse 7. Let this spirit guide you as you take your next step. Engage with this community, share these messages, and continue seeking the truth that is unfolding before you. Together, we can reclaim what has been lost, rebuild what has been broken, and create a future that reflects the beauty and depth of the sacred. As we conclude, remember this: you are not alone. The journey ahead may be challenging, but it is also filled with promise. You have been chosen for a reason, called to be a light in the darkness and a voice for truth in a world that so desperately needs it. Subscribe to this channel, activate notifications, and join us in this sacred mission. Share this message with others. Comment below to connect with fellow seekers, and watch the video recommended on your screen to continue this transformative journey. This is not the end. It is only the beginning. You are a part of something extraordinary, something eternal. Rise to the call, and let the divine light within you shine brightly for all to see. Together, we will illuminate the path forward.